Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. There is a modality that you can use to feel better. It can also help with things like infertility, pain management, so many different things that this modality can help you out with. Oh, by the way, it's been around for, I think my math is right when I say thousands of years, but I'll double check with the expert. And that would be the woman behind a great practice, Hackensack Family Acupuncture. And she is Dr. Lisa Mascall. She's an acupuncturist and a herbalist. And we've got her on the program today. How you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to dispelling some of these myths about acupuncture. And if we have time, I would love to get into herbal medicine, because I'm going to say right out here, right now, that herbal medicine changed my life a year ago. And I'm not exaggerating, and I'll get to the story, if I may, in a little while. I was about to go to the hospital, drive myself to the hospital, until an herbalist made me this concoction. And my gosh, change things in a day. It's amazing. Awesome. It works. It works. All of this works. Acupuncture. What do you want people to know? We have lots of perceptions of what's going on. Of course, there's a needle involved. You can't hide that or get away from that. But when somebody says that they have an aversion to acupuncture, what's the first thing that you usually say?
That's an interesting question. People do actually come in with those kind of objections, because I offer a free consultation. So people come in, not necessarily knowing that they're going to have the treatment. They can just come and ask questions. So they do come and ask questions. Sometimes people are asking things like, are the needles reusable? Which is crazy to me. But I guess if you Google it, maybe that kind of stuff comes up. I have no idea. But no, the needles are not usable. They cost a fraction of a penny each one of them. So you use them on one patient and then you throw them out in the proper receptacle, as in any other medical facility. You have the needle box hanging on the wall, and they go in there never to be seen or used again. So that's one of the things people object to. People also, they're afraid of needles, because their perception of needles is like when you go to get an injection or you go to get blood drawn, it kind of hurts. It's definitely uncomfortable. This is not that. The needles are not hollow in that way. They're super thin. There's little to no feeling at all. I would say the only places that you might feel something a little bit are the places that have just more sensation naturally, like your hands and your feet. Those are just, places where you have more sensation. Like, for example, your belly. You're not going to feel anything there. And I use the belly a lot because I treat infertility. Your face and your head, you might have a little more sensation there. But again, they're going in like a few millimeters, and they are super thin. Really don't feel anything.
I'm going to share with you about the needle and the, having blood drawn.
Sure.
First to admit, always been afraid of it. Always avoided it. Every time I had an appointment, I would put it off, by a week, by a month, every time, just routine blood test. Yeah. Until I changed my mindset and I started thinking that I'm doing something for myself. I'm going to get some information, and the information, may not be exactly what I'm intending, but I can do something about it, or it'll come back with, everything's fantastic. But I flipped it around. Lisa, this is only in the last year. And now I don't have a problem going. So I'm just sharing that with others that...
Absolutely. For sure.
It's the mindset. It really is the mindset.
Definitely. I actually have a similar story. You would never think it, because I put needles in people all day. But I was, as a child, so afraid of needles, like to the point where anything like the smell of a doctor's office, the white coat, an ambulance going by would make me nauseous. I just, like maybe by the second year. That first year was rough.
Wow.
But yeah, it might be a similar story for a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, I appreciate.
It's definitely a mindset shift.
I appreciate your transparency on it, especially coming from somebody who does what you do. And again, these needles, I heard and I don't know, how exact this is, but the acupuncture needle is so fine that you could fit a few of them in a typical needle where you get an injection from.
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And you said before, in terms of somebody experiencing pain, is it pain? Is it just, what is pressure maybe? What do you think somebody could potentially feel?
Yeah, so in some of the points, there could be kind of like a deep, like ache feeling. It's almost like, I don't know how to describe it, but actually this is, how patients have described it to me. In certain acupuncture points, one of them I'm thinking of just off the top of my head is stomach 36. It's like underneath your knee on the outside of your lower leg. It's a really powerful point. It's used a lot for a lot of different things. And it communicates really closely with nerve bundles that are right there, and I think that's the reason for the deep sensation. But yeah, you can definitely get this kind of like, you know what? It's like kind of when your arm goes to sleep and you move and then the blood starts coming in. It's kind of like that sensation.
Wow.
Not everybody feels that though. I mean, that's just something I've heard from some patients occasionally.
Yeah, sure. I'm learning
Mostly
a lot here.
It's nothing.
Huh. Are there different types of acupuncture?
Absolutely. Endless types of acupuncture. Endless, to be honest. I think the majority of, schools in acupuncture right now teach traditional Chinese medicine, which is really a broad type of medicine. It's kind of like going to medical school to be trained as a generalist. And then, as you get out and discover your own likes and dislikes, you go and get extra training in, like, for example, I did extra training in fertility and women's health. So, yeah, traditional Chinese medicine is, I think, a broad type of training, but there are all kinds, like family traditions. People have created their own, lane that goes this way. There's a Japanese style. There's a Korean style. There's several styles where you're only treating in one body part, but you're treating the whole body. Like, for example, Korean has a hand style that you can just treat the hand, but you're treating the whole body. You can do the same thing in the ear. You can do the same thing on the belly and the bottom of the foot. So there's like endless different styles.
Wow. Now, you talked about infertility. What are some of the other conditions or challenges that somebody may have that acupuncture can help them out with?
Literally anything. I mean, when somebody asks this question, I say the one thing that you don't bring to acupuncture is an emergency situation. Take that to the emergency room. Everything else can come here. That's basically it. You can treat anything. It's really a whole body medicine, because if you think about it in a way that what you're treating is actually a dysfunction of your own physiology, then you realize that what your acupuncturist is doing for you is correcting your own physiology. Your body once the physiology is corrected. Does that make sense?
It really does. It's almost as if you're giving your body what it needs to fix itself. And I'm a firm believer in we can heal ourselves. Absolutely.
That's exactly what an acupuncturist is doing for you. That's exactly what herbal medicine is doing for you. There's a kink in the system somewhere. Acupuncture fixes the kink, and then your body does its own thing. Like, your body knows how to do these unbelievable things, like create life and, heal a wound and all of this kind of stuff. If it's not doing that, there's a kink in the system somewhere. Something is, like, out of whack. You just have to fix that out of whack thing. Then all of those little issues clear up.
And I believe it's in the mind.
Absolutely.
Quick story. I was in my attic getting a boogie board. It was July 4th. This is about 10 years ago. And I slipped. I fell down I rode the stairs down, and my foot impacted on the cement in the garage. I had, road rash, like I would, fell off a motorcycle, but it was okay. And I didn't break anything, but the impact on the garage floor caused a wart to develop within a few days. Never had one. Like, what's that? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Went to a podiatrist, and he did some things. Didn't go away. Went back again like a week or two later. Doc, it's not going away. It's kind of uncomfortable with my shoe. Does some stuff, doesn't go away. I go back another week later. I'm like, what are we going to do here? Like, it's still here. He said, will it to go away? I'm like, what? Will it to go away? Yeah, use your mind and just tell it that you want it to go away. And it probably will. And I'm thinking, I'm paying this guy a copay? Will it to go, what? I did it. And no exaggeration, within 3 days, it was pretty much gone.
I fully believe you. The most shocking part of what you just said is that a doctor told you to do that. I was kind of surprised about that, but I fully believe that. That's so true. The problem is that people would not even believe enough to actually do it.
Yeah, 100%. What got you into all of this?
I was a physical therapist for the first 10 years of my professional life, and I was working for the military overseas on a military base in Germany. And they had a weekend training for us for all of like the people working in the health clinic. We're all Americans, obviously, over there working and not able to be in the States to get continuing education, because we all have to do that to maintain a professional license or whatever. So they would bring people to us, and they brought an acupuncturist that taught us how to do like some basic acupuncture stuff, right? Like I was a physical therapist, but there were other people that were like psychologists and, occupational therapists and, other medical team members that were learning the same thing. And it was just like a basic kind of acupuncture that you could do on, some people that you were treating if you were running out of things to treat them with and whatever. So I probably was one of the only people that actually used it after that because I was so interested. I don't think too many other people in the health clinic that were in that training really caught on to it because they were sending everybody to me. So, I started just doing these it was only 5 acupuncture points, and the needles were actually kind of these special needles that you didn't really need to learn any needle technique for. They were like self-inserting needles, oddly. So I started using that on some of the soldiers that I was seeing, and it was just dramatic, the effect. And I was like, whoa, I already knew I was on my way out of the physical therapy profession, and this kind of just came in right at the perfect time. And I said, I just want to learn more about this. And I had a deep like desire to learn about herbal medicine. So it was a perfect fitting. So when I finished that job in, I think that was 2011, 2012, I came back to the States, and then I went back to school for acupuncture. So that's kind of how it started.
Can you give some examples of people that you've worked with and what the outcome was, or even what they told you they felt after having a session?
Yeah, well, my practice in Hackensack is really around fertility and women's health. So a lot of the things that I'm treating are women and families that are having a difficulty getting pregnant. So sometimes people are coming and they are, strictly like, I don't want any harsh medication. I want to do this as naturally as possible. And, they walk into my office, and that's exactly what we do. Acupuncture, herbal medicine, do it naturally. Sometimes people are coming and they are, also going through IVF treatments. They're doing the most, really. All the meds, all the scans, all the blood works, like continually until they get their end, and they're using acupuncture and herbal medicine as an adjunct in support of that. And so the answer to your question is we help people get pregnant. Like, that's it. Before I kind of transitioned this business into like the specialty of fertility, I was treating, kind of like a general practice for like the first year or so. And, you're treating back pain, you're treating migraines, you're treating insomnia, you're treating some, anxiety and depression. For sure, after COVID, like every person walking through the door was anxiety and depression. So it was all things. And, one of the reasons why I like fertility so much is because you know exactly what your goal is. Treating pain can be a bit like ambiguous. Pain is so deeply wrapped up in like your psyche and sometimes I would be treating somebody who's coming for pain, and they don't realize that they're better. Like, they literally don't realize that they're better. You have to take really good notes and remind them, do you remember on the first day that you couldn't do this and you were in this much pain? And, oh, yeah, like, pain has such a deep mental aspect to it. It's hard to sometimes reach your goal. Not with fertility. You know exactly what your goal is. You know if you've reached it or not. So I really, really enjoy that and appreciate that about what I'm treating now. So that's the end. I mean, we help people get pregnant, and that's like, I don't know who has a better job.
Seriously, you talk about life changing. You're creating life or helping somebody to do so.
Yeah.
Wow. I wasn't even aware of some of the things that you had mentioned that acupuncture can help somebody out with. Like,
yeah.
It's amazing. Like, so many different, pretty much like you said, anything.
Really, it really is anything. I mean, I absolutely love when somebody walks in and they're like, I've tried everything. I've tried every medicine. I've tried every doctor. I've been to the best place. I absolutely love that. I love it. It's like my favorite person to treat.
Wow. Can we pivot over to herbal medicine for a moment?
Sure.
So I told you I would share a quick story. It was a year ago. I was just having digestive issues. I knew it was stress, hands down. And I had an ulcer diagnosed like, I don't know, maybe 6 years before. So I was like, oh, the ulcer's back, right? It was getting to the point where I was like, I don't feel comfortable. Something's up. I met a master herbalist, and she said, yeah, let me make you something. Gives me some kind of concoction with marshmallow root, catnip, and cat's claw, whatever that is.
Okay.
It's like a magic potion, and I took that for like 2 or 3 days. Now, side note, I was on Nexium and all those other, meds. 3 days later, I was fine. That and also aloe vera drink with pulp. Added that to it to just coat stomach lining, and literally was fine. Like, I felt fantastic 3 days later.
It's pretty shocking how well it can work if you get the right formula. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I'm treating is about kind of addressing the reproductive organs and the cycle and stuff like that, but it can have the same kind of effect. Like, it can be pretty dramatic. And again, like, I'm treating a lot of people that have been on all the meds, and in the area of women's health, to be honest, there aren't a lot of meds, right? There's only one, and it's the birth control pill, and it's what is used to treat everything. That's another reason why I felt so compelled to get into this.
It's a great point you bring up, because the pill is also used for cycle regulation, lots of other things.
Exactly.
Wow.
Cycle regulation. The pill is not for cycle regulation. I feel like I'm already getting intense.
you can tell I'm a guy, but
yeah, it's widely for cycle regulation.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. This is part of the problem, because a teenager has a problem.
Right.
They go to the doctor, they get put on the pill for 10 years, and then they get off the pill because now they're married and they want to have a baby, and guess what? That problem's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's on top of the fact that they're nervous about not being able to have a baby, and you have a big problem. You could have fixed that problem when they were a teenager or in their early 20s, and got them on a decent path so that they don't have this problem in their mid-20s or mid-30s on top of trying to have a baby.
Yep. And it's so true. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they told me that a woman that, she remembers the day that the doctor put her on the pill, and, she announced to her friends and her mom, guess what? I'm on it. And it's not for that. It's to regulate what's going on.
Yeah.
But it was, exciting in a way. And this is the thing that many of us don't realize. And I'm skeptical like the next person, but this is medicine. This stuff was used before we started making medicine. And when we started making medicine, where did it come from? Plants.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. It's medicine.
It's medicine.
A giant Band-Aid. It shouldn't be used for that, but it is medicine.
Yeah. What the things I mentioned that I was given: marshmallow root, cat's claw, catnip. Are you familiar with those? Do they resonate?
I'm vaguely familiar with them. They're not in the Chinese herbal medicine materia medica, but that's kind of, Chinese herbal medicine is, it's very old, and it's all of the medicinals were grown in China. So if it's not in that, it's kind of like out of my realm. Yeah.
See, that's an eye-opener for me, because I'm thinking, herbal medicine, there's some crossover, but no, there's different types, and I guess Chinese herbal is different.
Yeah, there's different types, and actually, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but the way an herbalist who's trained in the Chinese medical tradition builds a formula is like really different than how like a Western medicine type herbalist would build a formula. There's completely different strategies in building that formula, like combining, because some of the stuff that I see like online right now, because herbalism is kind of having a moment in social media and whatever.
Yep.
Some of the stuff that I see is so different. Like, I didn't really realize that it was as different as it is, but it is. Chinese herbal medicine is and all of the whole medicine is about balance. And so when an herbalist is building a formula, that formula has to be balanced. It has to be not too much of this and not too much of that, because everything has a not a side effect, but like an action, and you don't want too much of action in one direction. Do you know what I mean? So, but I don't see that happening in the other type of herbalism. I could be wrong because I'm not that into it, but I know in terms of Chinese herbal medicine, there is a whole system and a whole balance going on there that kind of makes it palatable. You know what I mean? Nothing is too much or too little. And the acupuncture treatment is exactly the same. They both built on the same principles.
Well, on the plus side, people are finally waking up, or let me just say re-waking up, because this has been going on for many, many, many years. And
True.
I don't know if you heard, if just right down to the the more of a spiritual level and more of a people taking control of their mind and what's going on. The word of the year, according to Oxford Dictionary, do you know what that word is?
No. What is it?
It's manifest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How cool
That's
is
a
that?
Good one.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just shows that, this more, call it a spiritual connection, which I connect that to herbal medicine and acupuncture, just those types of modalities. It seems like we're starting to embrace it again. So it's kind of refreshing.
Absolutely. It's exciting.
Your practice is in Hackensack, New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. And what's the best way to find you?
Through the website. The website is Hackensack Family Acu, like ACU.com. Yeah.
Wonderful talking with you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, learned a lot. Dispelled some of the misconceptions about a lot of this. Maybe opened somebody's eyes to it. Like you're our go-to when it comes to acupuncture, and I appreciate that. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.